Humanity clings to the belief that a savior will come, that a hero will rise, shrouded in armor, to save you. It won't. Armor can be broken, bodies shattered. When you look back on these last days, you will realize that all you've built was a tomb. A place where hope dies.
So 343 finally showed us some brand new gameplay footage of the Halo Infinite campaign. What did I think about it? Well, first off, I'll say this. I thought the gameplay looked fun. I think the story seems interesting. And the visuals of this game have definitely seen a significant improvement over what we saw last year with this game. Now, I'm not totally sold on everything pertaining to the visuals, especially when it comes to the enemy models. They do look a little low quality in certain shots that I saw, but I'm not going to know for sure how I feel about it until I actually get my hands on the game and I get to, thoroughly inspect them more. So overall, I thought this new campaign footage of Halo Infinite was cool. I liked some of the things I saw, and there was also some things I disliked and some things I'm concerned about. But before we get into all that, I just wanted to say that 60% of you that watch my videos are not subscribed. No, I'm just kidding. Before we get into that, I wanted to say that when it comes to the Halo campaigns, the Halo story, I used to be really invested in it back in the day. Back in Halo 1, 2, and 3, I cared so much about the story. I was so into it. I would sit there and let my mind run wild, speculating about this universe and all the things within it. And that really isn't the case anymore, and I think that kind of died off when I played Halo 4, to be honest. Some people like Halo 4's campaign, others hate it. I think it's a better campaign than Halo 5, but I disliked 4 and 5's campaign. To each their own, but I mean, that's the case for me. I really hated Halo 4 and Halo 5's campaign. For me, Halo 4's campaign and multiplayer as well, I mean, Halo 4 as a whole, it really didn't live up to the type of game I think a lot of people wanted. Now, when it comes to something like multiplayer, when I feel a game has a bad multiplayer, that can kind of be corrected with the sequel game. If the sequel to that game has a great multiplayer, then cool, I'll enjoy it and we're all good. But when it comes to something like campaign, the story, to me, it's not... To me, what I'm trying to say is the fact that I didn't like Halo 4 and Halo 5's campaign, that is going to have an impact on my enjoyment of Halo Infinite's campaign. Because it's not like Halo 4 and Halo 5 don't exist. No, that happened. That's part of the story. Evil Cortana is a thing. Like, that doesn't just go away. And then if they do just completely scrap that, then that's gonna be weird. So as far as the story in Halo Infinite, I don't know how much I can really enjoy it because of the events of Halo 4 and Halo 5. As far as the gameplay goes, yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun. It looked like fun. But I'll tell you this right now, and obviously this isn't the case, but I would not have a problem at all if Master Chief woke up in Halo Infinite and Halo 4 and 5 were all a dream. Some people would be outraged by that. I wouldn't give a fuck. But now with all that out of the way, let's talk about specifics in regards to this new Halo Infinite campaign footage. So first off, let's touch on the fact that this game is, I guess, semi-open world. I think that's what they're calling it. From the very beginning, when we first heard that this game might be kind of semi-open world, I I wasn't excited about that. I was kind of disappointed. I'm not a huge fan of open world games. I'm not saying they're objectively bad or anything. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm not a big fan of open world games, and I definitely think that's going to be the case when it comes to Halo. I prefer like a nice linear, a seamless linear story, beginning to end, 10 missions, whatever it is, and like all the prior Halo games. And in this new campaign footage that we've seen, we do see some elements of, open world. You can pull up a map. There's different waypoints and different objectives, side missions within the map that you can go and complete. We have upgrades. You're able to upgrade your equipment, like your grapple hook or your thruster. There's also areas where it looks like you can request vehicles and weapons. And I'm just really not a fan of all that stuff. I think somewhat recently, I forget where this was, but I think Joseph Staten said something about weapon crafting or weapon upgrades in Halo Infinite being something that they scrapped from the game because it didn't really feel like Halo. I forget where he said that, but it was somewhere. And I kind of feel a similar way when it comes to upgrading equipment. Even if the upgrade system in this game is pretty simplistic and bare bones, I still don't like the idea of pulling up this interface mid-game, looking through all the different upgrades and picking the ones you want. I just don't like that. Even with the map, I wasn't really a fan. That's something I wasn't a fan of with ODST. The Mombasa Street sections, where that kind of acted as like this intermission hub area in between all the main story missions. I'm not a fan of that in ODST at all. I actually fucking hate that. I've played it a bunch recently, or somewhat recently, and I cannot stand the Mombasa Street sections in Halo 3 ODST. That's something that was cool. It was cool the first time I played ODST, maybe the second, but replaying ODST, I just kind of want to play the main missions. It's tedious having to walk through the city to the next mission. I just find myself wanting the fast travel. It's kind of a little off topic, but I think I would have enjoyed those Mombasa Street sections more in ODST if it wasn't this like free roam type of experience. I wish that was a more linear experience when you were the rookie in the streets. In the Mombasa Street sections, instead of it being this city where you can, free roam wherever you want, I would have preferred it to have been like just like a normal mission, but much shorter, as you're, playing as the rookie, and at the end of that little mini mission within the Mombasa Streets, you find a clue, and then you go into the flashback of the next story mission. You know what I mean? Like, I think I would have enjoyed that more. But yeah, so just that little taste of open world in ODST, I really don't like it all, and it seems like Halo Infinite is doing that, but on a much larger scale. Now, from what I understand in Halo Infinite, you will be able to play through all the story missions just in a row and complete that, and I heard rumors that the campaign is like 6 or 7 hours. That's what I've heard, and I guess that's kind of on par with previous Halo games. But even if I just play through the main story missions in Halo Infinite in a row and I don't do any of the side stuff, I have a couple problems with that. First off, like we mentioned, there are upgrades in this game. If I just play through the story missions, I'm not going to have all those upgrades. So I guess I don't have the full, sandbox at my disposal while I'm playing through this campaign. I have to do, if I want all the upgrades and I want everything available to me while I play through these story missions, then I presume I'll have to do the side missions and gain materials or whatever you have to acquire to upgrade your equipment. So if you just exclusively play through the main story missions in Halo Infinite, it's kind of a lesser experience in a way because you don't have all the upgrades for your equipment. Whereas if you do all of these different side missions and objectives, you can upgrade all your gear and then go do the main story, and then you can use everything. So that's kind of the problem I have with it. It kind of, if you really want to maximize your experience and fully upgrade your gear, you have to do some of the open world aspects. You have to do these side missions, these side objectives. That's so it seems as of now, to upgrade this stuff. And now, of course, I'm sure you'll be able to upgrade your gear just by playing through the Halo Infinite main story. But again, all your gear isn't going to be as upgraded as it could be if you were to do some of the other open world aspects, the side missions. So that's one of the things I'm not a fan of with this open world, semi-open world take on Halo Infinite. So it's not as simple as, oh, if you want to only play through the main story, you can do that. Well, yeah, I can, but I'm not going to have all my stuff upgraded. I'm not getting the full experience. I have to do some of that open world type stuff to get that full experience. Unless your gear is just, I don't know, or unless like the gear upgrades that you get to your equipment, unless that's only pertaining to like the open world area, like in between the main missions. Maybe that stuff you don't carry that into the main story missions. Maybe, I don't know. This is obviously still speculation. Now, another thing I dislike about open world in Halo Infinite and in general, honestly, is you spend a lot of time in these samey environments and you revisit the same locations multiple times. And I really hope that Halo Infinite isn't going to feel like Destiny, where in Destiny you do have these free roam areas where you have a bunch of side missions you can do, and you revisit these same areas over and over and over again to do these same objectives, or a handful of different objectives, and you might clear out all the enemies in a particular area, but once you leave that area and come back, all the enemies have respawned, and then you kill them again, you leave the area, come back, they respawn again. And that's, I just don't like that, man. I hate that, honestly. That's why I say I prefer more of a linear story where you're constantly progressing, you're clearing out enemies, you're doing objectives, you're moving forward to new locations, beginning to end. Obviously, in some missions you do backtrack, but that is different. That is much different than having certain locations in this free roam area where enemies constantly respawn every time you revisit it. And you're revisiting these areas, or at least passing through them over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so far from what we've seen with Halo Infinite, it does seem like there's not going to be multiple different biomes. It does seem like the only environment is what we've seen, the Pacific Northwest. And I'm just really not a fan of that. I would like to see some more diverse landscapes and weather conditions. Halo 3 did that very well. You had your jungle mission, the snow mission, the sand, the Ark. You had a lot of different environments, and from the footage we've seen of the Halo Infinite campaign, it all looks the same. Besides the indoor sections where you're like in a banished facility or in a Forerunner structure. So that stuff is cool. But yeah, most of the environments we've seen so far in Halo Infinite look the same. And I really hope the entire campaign doesn't take place just in this one area. Even if that area is large, I want more diversity in the environments. Like in all the Halo games, you're moving around, visiting different areas of the ring, different planets. And I hope that is what they do for, at least for the main story in the Halo Infinite campaign. And I think that will be the case. A lot of the gameplay we're seeing is taking place in, I guess, what I guess is the semi-open world area. This is your like little hub area where you do your side missions, where you, and that's another thing. I don't care for that type of stuff. Side missions and objectives. You know, like go here and destroy the banished stronghold. Go liberate these Marines from the clutches of the banished. Destroy the anti-air gun, you know, like, or destroy the reactor, collect this, free that, hit this button. I don't know. Just little side missions like that. I'm not really a fan of that, especially in a Halo game. I'll say it again. I prefer a nice, seamless story, beginning to end, linear, 10 or so missions, whatever it may be. So those are pretty much my main thoughts on the whole open world aspect of Halo Infinite. I'm not really feeling it, but it is what it is. Now let's talk about some more specific things that we've seen in this new campaign gameplay footage. First off, Master Chief. I've been saying that Master Chief in this game looks incredible, and I was saying that it's my second favorite Master Chief. I still kind of lean towards the Halo 3 Chief. At this point, I'd say Halo Infinite is my favorite Master Chief. He looks incredible. Although, in some footage, it seems like his armor is a lighter green, and in other footage I've seen, new footage, it's a darker shade of green. I hope that the green, I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm not acting like it's a big deal, but I hope it's a darker shade of green for the Master Chief's armor, similar to how it was in Halo 3. I prefer that. But in this new gameplay footage we've seen, it did seem like it was kind of like a little bit of a brighter green, like kind of how it was in the 2019 Discover Hope trailer. I also like how the Brutes are back to using UNSC weapons. I believe we lost that with the Brutes in Halo Reach. I don't think they used human weapons, but in Halo Infinite they do. I think we've seen a Brute using a Commando, a Bulldog, a rocket launcher. I love the way this Brute holds this rocket launcher right here. I think this looks really good. It makes sense. I've said that the visuals of this game have been improved compared to what we've seen last year. But like I said, not everything looks super great to me. Like this banished Phantom, still not totally sold on that. Still does kind of look a little rough around the edges, and I think Phantoms in previous Halo games have looked a lot better, especially when it comes to this explosion when the Phantom is destroyed. This, in my opinion, has nothing on Halo 3's Phantom.
Have been neutralized.
Halo 3 had some damn good explosions. I mean, for a 2007 game, the explosions look so good. The Phantom explosions, and especially this. God, I'm losing my voice. Especially the Scarab explosion. The Scarab explosion in Halo 3 is, I don't know, top 10 explosions right there. I mean, that shit is amazing.
Well done, Chief.
Also, something I absolutely loved is how they recreated the battlefield Rendazook in Halo Infinite, where the dude hops out of the Banshee, shoots the other Banshee, and then hops back in his Banshee. I thought that was really, really cool that they did that. To be fair, I think that is something that is much harder to accomplish in Battlefield, but it was still cool to see. I absolutely love the way this hunter looks in this shot here. I love the colors, the really vibrant blue and green. Reminds me of the Halo CE hunters. I think they look great. There were multiple different antagonists shown off in this footage. We saw the elite dude, Brute named Tremonius, Escharum, the Harbinger. And so I anticipate that there will be multiple boss battles in this game, and I don't mind boss battles being a thing in Halo. I wish we would have seen more of them in the classic Halo games. But one thing I will say is in this shot here, where Master Chief is fighting a Brute named Tremonius, I think his name is, the Brute has a health bar above his head. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't like health bars, especially not in Halo. One thing I've always admired about Halo is how you can tell how much health an enemy has without them having a health bar. A health bar to me is a lazy way of displaying an enemy's health. There's other ways you can do it, like have some type of shield effect, or have his armor break off the weaker he gets, or something like that. You don't need a health bar, and I'm not a fan of that. But I am really excited about the possibilities of boss battles in Halo Infinite. Hopefully these boss battles are much better than the boss battles that we did get in previous Halo games. Hopefully it's much better than when you killed Regret in Halo 2. I mean, that was probably the worst boss battle of all time, honestly. Now, I also mentioned the Harbinger, which is another antagonist in this game. I don't know if she's the main antagonist, or if that's going to be Escharum, or, I mean, apparently the Harbinger and the Banished have a common goal, so they say, so we'll see how all that plays out. But she is, I think, a new species. At first I thought she was Forerunner. And when I thought she was Forerunner, I was kind of like, I don't know about this Forerunner design, you know what I mean? This doesn't really scream Forerunner at me. And but now I'm finding out that apparently she's not Forerunner. It does seem to be some new kind of species. Maybe there's information within the Halo books that could give us more insight here, but I haven't read the books. And they also showed off a new enemy called the Skimmers. I like the way these things look. This looks cool. They're messing with this monitor here, pulling on it, ripping pieces off. Then one of the Skimmers shoots the other Skimmer, so they're definitely kind of clumsy. I like that a lot. I think I'm gonna like this enemy. And the armor on the Skimmers looks very similar to the armor on the Harbinger, so I guess they are related somehow. The Skimmers are using shock rifles, and I think some people thought because they had the shock rifles they must be banished. They must be banished because they have shock rifles, but I mean, if the Banished and the Harbinger are working together, then it makes sense that they could still be a new species and use the shock rifle. But my thoughts on this, of a new type of species in Halo, in the Halo universe, I'm not against it, but just make it make sense. You know what I mean? Like, as somebody who has only played the games, hasn't read the books, make this make sense to me. Explain it to me in a convincing way that somebody who only played the games can understand, and make sure it's believable. Listen, I don't want to totally reject the lore within the Halo books, but it's like, how can I not? I don't know what to think about the books. Okay, there's a lot of things in the books that contradict with the games. Members of Bungie have said themselves that they didn't really consider the books when they created the games. So I don't know about, is it canon? Do we count that as canon? What about the things that are like the plot holes? What about, do we just like not pay attention to that? I don't know what to think of the books. So when it comes to learning about the Halo universe, the story, I just pay attention to the games. If there's things in the books that make their way into the games, cool. But I shouldn't have to read the books to understand, why things are the way they are in the game. And I think there was a little bit of an issue there with Halo 5. So again, I'm not against a new species being introduced into Halo, but explain it to me in the game, make it believable. Now, at the end of this video, we saw this quick clip of Escharum, and multiple different people have been freeze framing on his face here and comparing it to Escharum from last year in the gameplay reveal that we've seen, and talking about what a huge improvement an extra year does. And when people were doing that, initially I was thinking to myself, but I was thinking, are we sure that this new Escharum is actually in engine? Because the Escharum we saw last year was in engine. This looks like this new Escharum from the new gameplay footage that we saw the end of the gameplay footage that we saw. This looks like CGI, and later on Twitter, Unisheck confirmed that is not in engine like the footage of Escharum we saw last year. So taking the 2020 Escharum and putting it side by side with the Escharum we saw in this new video, like that is not a fair comparison at all. Because one's in-engine and one is CGI. And with that, that's going to do it for the video. Those are my thoughts on this new campaign video that we got for Halo Infinite. Game looks fun. Story looks interesting. I actually want to find out what this is all about. The Harbinger and stuff. I want to figure out what this is all about. So, there is some interest there. Before, I didn't really care about the story at all. But I am a little bit interested now. Again, the fact that I hated Halo 4 and Halo 5's story, it makes it difficult for me to get excited about Halo Infinite's story, because Halo 4 and Halo 5, while they are different games, that all that story stuff happened. Like, that's a thing, and it's gonna have an influence on Halo Infinite's story. But regardless, overall, I liked a lot of what we saw in this video. Obviously disliked some things, concerned about some things. We addressed that in this video here. Those of you who have seen some of my prior videos know that I'm been enjoying Halo Infinite's multiplayer from what I've played, and I think Halo Infinite, and so far I say Halo Infinite's a much better game than Halo 4 and Halo 5. And even at launch, I think that will be the case. I think this will be will easily be 343's best Halo game. That's what I think as of now, but of course that could change. Anyways, guys, hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.